Today, we're diving into an absolutely incredible story of survival, of pure ingenuity. And well, what happens when a team of YouTubers decides to go head-to-head with the raw, untamed power of the Pacific Ocean?
Right from the get-go, the mission was framed in the most extreme way possible. This was never just some fun YouTube challenge. For them, it was a self-imposed life-or-death situation. They set the stakes as high as they could possibly go.
And that really is the central question of this whole thing, isn't it? Could they actually pull this off? You've got a team with pretty much zero relevant experience, and they're facing one of the most hostile environments on Earth. Let's find out.
Okay, so to really get what this story is about, we first have to wrap our heads around just how monumental this challenge was from day one.
It's almost comical when you lay it out. On one hand, the goal: build a working boat from nothing and then sail it across the open ocean. And on the other hand, the team, a group of creators who are having a hard enough time just building a simple shelter. It's a classic story of ambition versus reality, a huge gap between what they thought they could do and what they were actually prepared for.
And here, the one guy on the team with any real building experience, Haas, he just lays out the terrifying truth. He knew their success wasn't just going to come down to hard work. No, it would ultimately be decided by forces completely out of their control. It's a pretty chilling bit of foreshadowing, honestly.
But, despite these crazy odds, they didn't just give up. Not at all. They got to work, starting the painstaking process of turning jungle junk and actual ocean garbage into a vessel of hope. And what's interesting is how methodical they were about it. You might expect them to just start throwing logs together, but no. They started small, with a miniature prototype to test the idea. Then they gathered materials, built the thing for real, and finally held their breath for the big test. Would it even float?
Now, this scavenging mission was no joke. It was a dangerous hunt through a jungle crawling with venomous snakes and spiders. But in a bizarre twist, their biggest lifeline came from our own carelessness: trash. Literal garbage washing up from passing ships became their salvation. And these sealed blue barrels, they were the jackpot, the key to the whole thing. Just like they said, a sealed container was worth more than gold out there.
And we have to remember the human toll here. This wasn't some fun, upbeat building montage. It was just a grueling, brutal ordeal. We're talking heat exhaustion, severe dehydration, physical burnout. At one point, one of the guys almost passed out just from the effort of carrying a single barrel back to their camp.
And then, this moment. This changed everything. After days of all that brutal work, all that doubt, their raft hits the water, and it actually floats. For the very first time, that impossible goal suddenly felt possible.
So the boat was built, but the real test was just beginning. This was it, a multi-hour battle against the open sea where all their hard work would either pay off or just get swallowed by the waves.
Their 12-hour journey was just an absolute emotional roller coaster. They launched perfectly, with the tide helping them out, a great start. But that good feeling didn't last long. Equipment started breaking, people got violently seasick. For hours, they were just stuck, making no progress. Then, a miracle. The tide shifted in their favor, giving them a second wind and pushing them agonizingly close to their goal.
This is what they were up against from the start. Over 5 miles of open ocean. Just think about that. For a professional crew in a real boat, that's a serious trip. For a group of YouTubers on a raft made of trash, it's almost unthinkable.
But look at this. After hours of just gut-busting paddling, they had made insane progress. They had crossed the most dangerous channel and cut the distance almost in half. The hope was real. You could feel it. Maybe, just maybe, they were actually going to do this.
And they just kept pushing, fighting for every single foot. That island, which was once just a tiny little speck on the horizon, was now a real, tangible place. Just 1 mile left. They could practically smell the land.
And then, this, half a mile. After nearly 12 hours of nonstop work, they were so close you could probably swim it. This was it, the absolute peak of their journey. The moment right before victory.
But victory, as it turns out, was not on the menu that day. In those final heartbreaking moments, the ocean decided to show its true, unforgiving power. This was the moment, the critical turning point. After everything they'd been through, the one thing they couldn't fight was the clock. Just as Haas had warned, the tide turned. The same current that had been helping them all day became an unstoppable enemy, and it just ripped them away from shore.
And that's really the whole lesson of their story, isn't it? They conquered 95% of that journey through pure grit and teamwork. But that last little bit, that final 5%, it wasn't about willpower anymore. It was a race against a natural clock, and they were just about 20 minutes too late.
The emotional gut punch was just devastating. You can feel the total disbelief in this quote. Imagine doing everything right, pushing yourself past every single physical and mental limit you have, only to watch it all slip away right at the very end.
So, it leaves us with this fascinating question to think about. I mean, they didn't make it to the island, so technically they failed. But they never, ever gave up. Not for a second. They were simply beaten by a force of nature they had no control over. So what does that really tell us about the difference between success and failure itself?